Mute. Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. This is Mother from Hearts and Minds again. Welcome back if you're already here, and if you're not here, I hope somebody turns up. Good afternoon, and I think for those who are in Malaysia, specifically Selangor, our MCU has started. So I am happy. I'm actually excited, and I think more people will join us. So I'm truly very excited because today I have a lovely friend who has said yes to me. It's Mother's Day, and so I'm all dolled up to enjoy the journey with my dear friend. And yes, hi, John Peter Ganesan. Good morning from all the way from India. Thank you very much for joining us, John. Gerald, thank you very much for joining us. You've been a great friend. Woohoo! I've got James Fung who's joined us, and Kamini, thank you, darling. I love you too. And yeah, this episode is especially dedicated for mothers like you, Kamini. And I'm glad you joined because you're going to love Rajesh just the way I love her. So without further ado, please help me welcome my very beautiful artistic friend. And how do I describe her? I often say, right, when I get into trouble with my children or I feel confused, the first person who comes to my mind is my mom. I'll say, what will my mother do in this situation? And when that doesn't work, Rajesh is one of the top persons who comes into my head. I'll say, what if I spoke about this to Rajesh? What would she say? And today we all can find out what would Rajesh say. So have your questions about motherhood, have your questions about work-life balance and living fully, have your questions about career progression, have your questions ready. With that, Rajes Singam, are you ready to join us? Yes, we are bringing you on board. Yes, I can see you smile. Hi, Rajesh.
Hi, Malar. How are you?
I am very good. If I'm anywhere around you, I'll give you a tight hug because you said yes to me.
Hugs back.
Oh, I love you. All right. So it was very nice. I was so glad that, people actually got to see your video. And if you'd watched the video, and we'll play the video again a little bit later, you will see that this Rajesh Singam is a true Singam in her life, right? Singam in Tamil means lion. And, this is the lioness that rocks the world. Rocks the cradle better than the world, but she rocks it both, right? And hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for joining. That's another mother star of mine. Mugil. Thank you, Mugil. Good afternoon, Dr. Thayalan. Yay, Manjit is my childhood friend. He has joined us, another rocking mother. So we have a lot of rocking mother joining us and fathers who are helping mothers rock, I hope. So Rajesh is a very good friend of mine who's also an EQ trainer. But today I am going to talk to her more at a personal level. Why? Because I don't think you can take the mother out of a career woman. And that's what Rajesh reminds me of. So I was introduced to Rajesh by a dear friend, Raj. You remember Raj? And the first time I met Rajesh was so funny because the way he explained, I was expecting a typical traditional looking woman. And here she came like a rock star and she started talking. And I was wowed from the first time I met her. And you know what? I probably disagreed with her on a lot of things, which is why I love her perspective, because she has helped me to pause, stop, challenge myself, and think. So, enough of me, Rajesh. Tell us a little bit about you. Give us a bit of a background of why you're so stunningly beautiful inside out. Okay, tell me a little bit about you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. It's lovely to be here. I'm very honored because I think very highly of Malar too. And I'm very honored that she thinks so highly of me. Right. Well, there's not a lot to say really about my beginnings. Okay, I had very humble start. My father was an estate conductor. He's medically boarded out when he was very young. Okay, so we from very early on, my father prepared me for not for not he wouldn't be able to support me for my education or whatever. And so I knew from the very start that I would be uh, going to work as soon as I finished my SPM.
Mm.
But yes, so when I finished my SPM, I got a job, and coming from a very conservative and traditional Indian family, once you're working, the next step in my life would be for my father to find me a suitable groom. And coming from a Sri Lankan Tamil community, one of the, I'm sure you've heard of the dowry system. It's very prevalent amongst the Sri Lankans. So my father decided that the sooner he gets me married with as little a dowry as possible, the better for all of us. And so I was married off by the age of 20. I had my first child when I was 21, and I had my second child when I was 25. So going back to where I started as a teller in Standard Chartered Bank. Yeah, so that's kind of where it all began.
Oh, I'm going to ask you to move a little bit to the middle because I want to see your face a little bit better. Yes,
Okay, is that
okay, good.
better?
Yes,
Okay.
lovely. So I love this story because these are stories that sometimes we watch in the Tamil movies and think it doesn't happen in a place like Malaysia, right? And before I ask you the questions that's right, really firing my heart out. Maziana, thank you very much for joining us. You're coming on the show next. Bharathi, Suresh, thank you very much for joining us. In Ibrahim, thank you. Now, you said that, your dad was ready to get you married from the beginning. And I think some people can relate to it. Many youngsters today may not be able to relate to it, which is why I think, I really treasure your story. I mean, I've known you for years, but, this is an amazing story because, well, they got you married, right? So let's start with, not with the marriage. Okay, we'll have another session on the marriage. But I'm very interested to know. So you started your career as a teller because after your Form 5, you could have studied, but they were ready to get you married, so you became a teller. So tell us a little bit, how did you move yourself up and out of a job?
Okay. Okay, so for the first few years of my career, okay, I would say at least for the first 10 years of my career, I couldn't do very much because my children were very young, okay, and I would not be able to attend evening classes. I was very, I did not have a car. I used to have to take a bus to work, and then, sometimes it would mean I have to stop on the way, pick up my kids, and then continue with my journey. Yeah, so it was not easy at all. But as my children got bigger, now I had a good network of various people, mothers, mother-in-laws, babysitters, okay, people who helped me look after them during the day while they were in school or after school. But I have never left my children to stay overnight with anyone. So they would always leave the house with me. I made sure that I fed them and I dressed them and got them ready for school before I went to work, taking a bus, right? And I would make sure that I brought them back and we had a home cooked meal and put them to bed, get them ready for school the next day. Yeah. So this was my early years. I went back to studies, okay, in my early 30s. Really, I joined the Malaysian Institute of Management, so I used to go for evening classes, and I did my first diploma in management with MIM. That was my first professional qualification per se, okay, because I only had an SPM until that point of time. But subsequent to that, as I started getting my promotions, now my promotions came very fast. I had like almost 6 to 7 promotions within a span of 6 years. All right. So the promotions came very fast, and I moved from being a teller to a manager in the bank, okay, within a span of 8 years, I would say. So, and it is all because of that first diploma that I did. And then subsequent to that, I then went into wealth management and investment, and I studied investment with the Securities Institute of London. That was very much obviously I didn't go to the UK to do that. Okay, it was very much a correspondence program at that point of time. Yeah, and then I got my further professional qualifications along the lines of wealth management because I was dealing with priority customers and their portfolios. So that was my kind of. I think that rise was very fast, about 8 years really, from being a teller to a manager.
Wow.
Yep.
So, what was so special about you that you rose so quickly? Because one of the stories and rather disempowering stories that we hear among women even today, right, is that I'm a woman and it takes a while and I don't get recognized and stuff like that. So there must be something special about you that you are one of those who's telling an opposite story that you rised up very quickly. So what do you think got you there?
Okay, so I've always thought that if I had to work in a circus, I would probably be the juggler in the circus. I'm very good at juggling. My multitasking skills are amazing, right? I can do like three things at the same time. So that's one thing. But I would say that I did have a great role model. I had a wonderful boss. Her name is Dato Bridget Lai. Many of you may have heard of her. Yeah, and I remember at one of my interviews when I went in and I expressed my concern that I might not be able to perform as well because I'm a mother and I had responsibilities at home as well. And she said, Rajan, the reason I even consider you is because of what a good mother you are, because I know you would bring those same values and principles to the workplace, and I know you do a great job. Yeah, and for that I am very grateful to her. She molded me. I would say in many ways she crafted my destiny. Right, Dato Bridget Lai. Yes.
Oh, so those who know Dr. Bridget Lai, please, thank her. Because of her, we had Rajesh faster. But I want to just take a pause there, right? You said you rose really quickly, and I mean, you're very humble to say that Dr. Bridget Lai actually recognized you. And I also like the analogy of circus and juggling. I can only imagine you doing all of that, right? But having said that, what made you, so when a promotion was offered to you, obviously you needed some stroking, you needed some encouragement, and someone to tell you, I believe in you. And I love what Dato Bridget Lai said, because she said, if you have this personal values and principles as a mother, there's no way you're going to be any different at work, right? And I'm so glad someone actually recognize that of you, because very often what I find women struggling is that you need to either be a mother or a professional. That's the kind of choices sometimes we think we have, and that's a very limiting mindset. So I love Dr. Bridjalai for saying what she said. But having said that, what made you hesitate?
What made me hesitant?
Yeah, why were you hesitant that she, I mean, I'm glad she said that,
Well,
right?
yeah, okay. I believe that a lot of my hesitancy also could be due to my a little bit of low self-esteem. I felt I was not a graduate. I didn't have a lot of management experience, and then you offering me a managerial position, whether I could actually carry through in that job. Okay, whether I'd make a good manager. Okay, so I had a lot of these concerns, but on the other hand, okay, I also look at it as this was my stepping stone, and I wanted my two daughters to see that anything is possible. I didn't want them to limit themselves to just being at one place. I wanted them to see that even me with my limited background and my humble beginnings, I can rise up so fast, and why can't they be even better than me? So I really wanted this to resonate with my two children. So yeah, that was one of my reasons. Yep.
So very interesting. It's so interesting. You hesitate. I mean, I think people who know you now will be quite shocked to see. Raj is having a self-esteem, low self-esteem. That's like, right? But and I think that's what is really important, because self-esteem, our belief in ourselves, one is what we believe, and sometimes you need to hear a voice echoing back to you about how good you're doing, right? And it's lovely that you had people saying that, but at the heart of it, it seems to me that whatever you do, these two young ladies have been driving you. And I love the fact that you say that you wanted your children to, your girls, your two daughters, to see that, look here, I'm in a shitty position, but I am not going to let it stop me. And I think that's a pearl, right? Because if we, specifically mothers, women, right, what we say, what we do is what our children, specifically daughters, are going to take back. The way we live our life, because tomorrow when they grow up and they become mothers or just young ladies, right, what they're going to remember is the role modeling that you've actually done. So thank you for saying that. I tell my children, when my daughters talk to me, I say, I don't expect you to be as good as me, because I'm expecting you to do better than me, because your circumstances are so much better. So I actually tell them to be better. So, we're not too far away. You're a nicer mother in that sense. I'm going to just say hello to someone. Oh, not Captain, Major Prabha is here. Shanti Shanmugam is here. Hi, Shanti. Shanti, Jasilia Shanti, if you know her. She says, hi, Edward confirms that women are best at multitasking. Edward, I have to say, I'm not very good at that. Hi, Saranya Kumar. Someone on LinkedIn without a name is saying, this is so inspiring. So, Rajesh, we've got one person who's inspired for sure who said the word, and that's because your story inspires. So
Thank you.
let's go back to what Bridget Light say about your principles as a mom, right? Because I think she had the wisdom to really know that a woman, a professional who is doing so well and so dedicated to motherhood, cannot do otherwise at work. So while I am very excited to talk about work, I want to celebrate Mother's Day, right? And if we need it be, I will beg you to come back again to talk to us about your corporate strategies. But now, if you think about the principles, what are some things that you think professionally, what you learned, how it contributed to you being effective as a mother, and the skills that you had as a mother, all the cooking, baking, being an artist, drawing. So if people have watched the video, if you saw the cakes were not bought. Those are cakes that Raji's baked for her children, for her daughters, right? And the paintings are hand drawn by Rajesh, and I'll ask her a bit more about the drawing. So instead of asking Rajesh what she can do, she crochets. Oh my God, she does everything. So I think the question we need to ask you is what you cannot do. But having said that, so you're so good, so talented, so artistic. I'm just wondering, what are the lessons from home that you use at work, and lessons from work that you bring back home? If there's something coming to your mind, if you could share with us.
Lessons from home that I would use at work. Okay. I realize it's very important for us to role model. I really think that our children, how they eventually grow is very much dependent on who were the people who were their greatest role models. And it can't be, anyone can't be a better role model than your own mother. All right. And I think both my daughters, I'm I'm very happy to say they still think that I'm a great role model. They tell me this all the time, okay? And they still consult me, they still ask for my advice. And so I believed that same values I would take to the workplace. And so I would never expect my staff to do something that I would not do. Okay. I would never ask them to do something unreasonable. I wanted to walk their shoes. I wanted to feel what issues they faced. I tried as best as possible to be their friend and mentor. It's not easy when you're in a leadership position. Okay. I've learned that it's not about being a nice boss, it's about being a good boss. And sometimes it's about tough decisions that I had to make, having to say no to everybody who wants to go on Hari Raya leave, or everybody wants to go on Chinese New Year leave. You got to be a little unpopular during those periods of the year, because it's a bank. I'm running a branch. But I realized that at the end of the day, if I could live those values that I profess for myself, that the same should also go to my staff, that I should also treat them equally well. And I tried as much as possible to be human in the workplace. I think a lot of training, when I'm training staff, people always tell me that their bosses have no feelings, don't understand their situation, are totally no empathy whatsoever. And I try to do differently. I tried. I am certain I did my best. Yeah.
No, Durga, your beloved daughter who's a doctor, say so proud of your mom. So it's amazing that despite her busy schedule, she's coming up and saying so proud of you, mom. And yeah, so that's your daughter. Now, so just going back to role modeling a little bit. So definitely we role model. We either role model the right stuff or not the right stuff, right? Now, I like the way you said, being a good boss is really not saying yes, but learning how to say no. And in saying no, it's actually no fun place, right? It's so much easier to say yes and be the popular boss or the popular mother than to say no, take a stand, and being grounded in your heart that you are doing the right thing, that is the best choice you have to make, right?
Yeah.
So how did you deal with, so let's talk about the girls a little bit, right? Because you did say the first 10 years you focused on them, and then you started to pay attention to your career by educating yourself, right? Now by then they are already preteen, and that's like one of the most difficult times, right? So, and I know you're a lioness, right? And so when you had to say no to your daughters, and when they looked at you like you are the, I'm wondering, right? Because your daughters are equally very strong, amazing characters, that the way I know them as an adult, right? So I cannot imagine them any less than you. Now, so how did they react to your nose, and how did you deal with that? I mean, I believe I'm a mother. I believe that when you say no to your children, it scratches you too, right? Because you want to say yes, but you need to say no because it's the right thing for them, and they will naturally, being children growing up, uh, right? And so, how did you deal with that?
Well, well, I think from very young, I was not just their parent. I think I was also their best friend. I kind of did a lot of things with my children. We traveled together. We did a lot of things together, which was not all about their studies. It was also about their social life and I made sure, that they had their birthday parties and they dressed well. And, I looked into a lot of those other needs as well. Of course, from time to time, children being children, they will become difficult. Okay. And I actually remember my Gayatri, she was insistent, my elder daughter, that she would die if she didn't get a pair of Doc Martens, some shoes that, that they used to buy in those years. And I realized that my children were becoming very materialistic, that they wanted branded stuff and expensive uh, places to go and eat at. So yeah, so one way I said no is I sent Gayatri off to a camp, a holiday camp at an orphanage for 10 days. She told me she's going to die if I leave her there. But I said, well, life sucks. And I remember leaving her there for 10 whole days, all right. She came back with a bag full of old vade and food that she couldn't eat at this camp. But let me tell you, her perspective of life changed at that point. Okay, she began to appreciate all the things that she enjoys at home, the food that she has, her meals. Okay, she became very generous. She would tell me on her birthday that she wants to share, her birthday presents with some other unfortunate children. So I think that I had to teach them some tough lessons, and I found very creative ways of doing it. Yeah, so that's something.
Goodness, you sound like a stepmother, but my question is this, right? When you sent off your kid to a camp, now I think a lot of mothers are going to pick this up because right now I think the struggle that we have is we are raising privileged kids, right? And you walked ahead, and now you're telling us even those days, right? You were so creative to think of this amazing way to help your child learn, right? But having said that, so I want to go back to that space where you decided you're going to send your daughter for this amazing camp, right? Now, when you left at the camp, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't an easy choice for you,
No, it
right?
was very, very hard.
I
Yeah.
want to know how you felt and how you dealt with your feeling.
Well, I at the camp organizer was very reassuring. He told me, he said, "Don't worry, she'll be all right." And he did call me uh, once every few days, and he told me that the first few days she kept asking them to see me and kept telling them that she would die if she didn't see me. But he said, "But she's okay. She's doing all right." But I think by the fourth day or the fifth day, she kind of resigned herself to, okay, let me just get with it. And then she made some good friends there, and she kind of enjoyed her stay there. I really think that was a big part of her growing up years. She still talks about it. So yeah, that was a very
Wow.
big lesson.
How did you feel?
How did I feel leaving her there?
And hearing all
Well,
of this, you know,
no, I missed her, but I realized. But as I said, sometimes we need to make some tough decisions when it comes to our children. It's not all the time having to say yes to them. I think I have very often said no. I've justified why I said no. I make sense of my no, and I am very firm with my rules. And I always tell them that I give them the benefit of the doubt, that I trust them wholeheartedly. But if they ever, all right, if they ever test that boundary, then all their privileges will be taken away from them. And I have never gone back on that promise. All right. So it was kind of difficult, obviously, until they reach 17, 18, and they're about to go to college. Then they kind of settle down. And then it was much smoother. Once they reached that age, it was easier for me. Yeah. And they're amazing girls.
I know, we're going to talk about them shortly. So, boundaries first. I trust you first.
Yes, I had no choice.
Yeah. I mean, I trust you first, but I'm watching you, right? And if you mess up, there's no second chance.
Yes,
Okay.
no, no.
All those who are hearing, just remember trust first, boundary next, and no second chance. And don't threaten, carry out the agreement.
Yes,
That's what I'm hearing, right? And that's what
yes.
tough love is all about. Gerald Fernandez says tough love works, and he's also saying a lot of nice things about you. Thank you, Gerald. Amazing, Rajesh, truly inspiring. Yeah. And Maziana, our dear Maziana says, both of you are my gurus, role model. Thank you for giving. Yala Katmas, you always say that. Thank you very much. You're very humble, Katmas. And Mangesh from Singapore says, Rajesh is inspiring. I want to be her when I grow up. Truly a powerhouse. Yeah, there's more coming. So, let me see. Abdul Rafi, welcome. That's my child's teacher. Angela Lau, hello. Hi, Angela. Now, there's a question here. So, I'm going to stop a little bit because you did say that I like the part you say, I'm best friends, but, don't mess with me. Huh? So, that was very clear, right? That's an interesting question from Alia. But before I go to that, right, have your children messed with you? And you don't have to tell us about the mess, But when they did mess around, I suppose they're normal children. They would mess around because they're checking boundaries, right? So how did you send back the message to them very clearly? Hello, baby, you're not messing with me, right? Is there something?
Well, I remember telling them that there can only be one captain in the house, and that captain was me. And if they didn't like, having me as a captain, they can find another captain, and they can, the door's open. I'm not keeping the door locked. And I remember Durga, just one day she actually did walk out a few yards out of the house, and then changed her mind and came back, because she knew that there wouldn't be a room more comfortable than the room in her own house. And
Whoa, that was so brave. Now, I'm going to ask you, right? When you say that to your children, I mean, I want to say that to my kids too, but so when you say that to your kids, was there any were you sure that they won't leave, or you said what you just meant and you were
No, no,
open to?
no. I was very sure. I don't recall ever telling her to come back. Okay, I never did, because I knew that my girls have very strong values, and I had always spoken to them about self-reflection, and think about what you did. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what you did is right or wrong, but I want you to think about it. And I have a file full of letters that my children have written me from the time they went to kindergarten, in fact, where their sorry was spelled SORI. Okay, and every time we had a disagreement with me and my girls, I can say for sure the next morning there'll be a big piece of paper under my door. They'll push this little piece of paper under the door, and so these letters, okay, obviously it went on, okay, until they reached college even. And so I have some really long letters written by Gayatri when she was in her teens. I have some short letters written by Durga when she was in kindergarten. All right, so I saved these letters. So I have never encroached into their space. I've always told them I want them to think about it, and I want them to think about the consequences of their action, and I want them to come and tell me why what they did is not right. Okay, what was it about that situation that was not right? I want them to realize it, and they need to come and share that with me. Okay, so we would always keep it for 24 hours. I have a theory that 24 hours is a really good time, because then you are not so angry, and you can sleep on it, and you get up the next day and your thoughts are clearer. So this is what I used to do. I've never lost my temper with them at that point. I will usually not say anything. Durga will agree with me if she's listening. I will not say anything, and I will wait until the next day before we have a conversation. And yeah, so
Okay.
that was.
So that's a very good tip for mothers specifically. You can get angry. That is normal. Be angry, but just keep it in, suck it in for 24 hours. Let it settle down before you speak. And of course, in emotional intelligence, we call it emotional hijacking. Today we know about it, but you were already practicing it before you were introduced to emotional intelligence. Brilliant, Rajesh. So I'm going to throw you. There are two amazing questions here. Alia asked Rajesh, do you this is my favorite question, Rajesh. I'm sure it's your favorite too. Do you have any regrets with any major decisions you've made, regardless at work or home? I'm going to do that first because there's another one. So let's do that. Regrets, Rajesh.
Alia, thank you for your question. Okay, I'm going to disappoint you. Okay, I was actually talking to Malar about this before the show even, and she asked me if there's anything I would change. Okay, if I had a chance to go back, if there's anything I would change. My answer was very clearly no. I would not change anything. I think everything that has happened in my life, there was a reason for it. I learned from it, good or bad. Okay, there was something that came out of it, and it helped to craft my destiny. So I believe that good things, bad things, they all happen for a reason, and it's how you manage it at that point of time that makes a difference. Okay, so I have no regrets at all.
Okay. So what you're saying is that if life throws you lemons, make lemonades.
Make lemonade. Yeah, exactly.
And then drink it and enjoy it because you've thought about it, you've contemplated, you've reflected. So you make a conscious choice, and your conscious choice is one that is best for the moment. What is there to regret? You just grow with it, right? That's what you're
Yes,
saying. And I love
yes,
it. I love it because life is too short to live with regrets. But
yeah.
I think what's important here is that if you don't want regrets, that you need to have clarity about yourself, why you do what you do, because tough decisions are not easy, right? That's why it is tough. If it was easy, the right and wrong is very clear, right? And very often when we are making tough decisions, it is really a crossroad for us. And for me, crossroads is where you discover what your true values are, right? Okay, she's asking a second question. Any good decisions you made which you are so glad you made? I know you have many, but let's talk about maybe one decision as a mom that you think you're glad you made, and maybe perhaps another decision at a level of your professional career. So, as a mom, what's one good decision that you are so glad you made?
I think my one good decision would be about my daughter Gayatri. Okay, Gayatri was a little playful in school. Okay, but I knew that she was a brilliant girl somewhere. It just hadn't emerged yet. Okay, the butterfly in her hadn't come out yet. All right,
So, while
and
she was in the cocoon, now, while she was in the cocoon, yes.
One good decision I made was after she finished her SPM, she she kept telling me that she wants to be an air stewardess, and I felt that okay. I said, okay, you can be an air stewardess as long as you've finished a degree of some sort. And she was like, no, I'd like to be an air stewardess, and so I said, okay, why don't you go to work in the meantime? Okay, I want you to think about it, and so I actually got her a job as a temporary teller at the bank. Okay, she didn't like it. She didn't like working life. So then one day she came back to me and said, I think I will I will continue with college, so that's how she continued with college. So the decision I made there was not to be hasty with her. Yeah, I decided I let her experience working life to see whether is that what she really wants. And then she decided on her own that she wants to study. And she is head of language acquisition faculty with the Australian International School. I'm so proud of her that this child who told me she wants to be an air stewardess. I'm not saying that it's not a good job, okay? It's just that I felt that you must complete your education. You can be anything you want to be. I said you can be a cook, you can be a cleaner. I don't care what you want to be, but I want you to finish your education because that's the only tool you will have in your life, okay, which you can carry with you.
So let's go back to that, because I think a lot of our daughters and sons, okay, but daughters who may not want to be air stewardess nowadays, but they want to be models, they want to be YouTubers, and so there's a different trend right now where kids want to be, right? So, and I like the part that you said that it's not the job, right? But I need you to finish your education. So tell us a little bit why did you insist education was so important? What was running in your
Because
mind at that point?
I think one thing that I felt was that maybe I could have been far more successful much earlier in my life if I did have that opportunity to have continued with my studies. Yeah. But, like I said, my father had a different opinion altogether. He felt that women don't need an education, that our role in life is to get married, have babies, and raise children. Okay. And so I needed to define that. Okay. I felt that I want my children to to do those things that I never got to do. And I think that was one of the things that inspired me to push them on, to continue to encourage them to complete their studies. And yeah, they did. And they
Mm,
did
mm.
very well too. Okay. Gayatri has actually got 2 degrees, a master's as well. Durga is a specialist, all right, a family medicine specialist. I'm so awesomely proud that, me with my SPM, with nothing really, that I produced these 2 gold medals. Yeah.
Yeah, so I like the way, because I know, so one of those, when I was actually trying to come up with the topic here, right, and I said, motherhood pearls. uh I remember one of those things that you had shared. I think it was probably during the wedding, right? I suppose it was Durga's wedding, right? um you helped me to remember, how your girls are the pearls that you wear, right? And that has stuck with me and all the time, because when I think about my children, I said that's the crown that I want to wear. If I need to wear a crown, and if I'm going to be a queen, I am going to be the queen of motherhood. And I pray that, I get to stick three pearls on my crown, because that's what would give me that feel that I've lived a fulfilling life, right? And I've said this to you many times, and I think it's worth saying this again. I hope I get to say what you say one day. But having said that, so you, Gayatri, wanted to become air stewardess, and I remember, those days it was considered like quite cool to be an air stewardess. Yeah, I never had a dream of becoming an air stewardess, because with my height I would never make it, so that's why my dream wasn't there. But you asked her to focus on education because you believed in education, and they took it up. Now, as a result, what's interesting with Gayatri is that from not wanting to study, she's now done double degree. And more than that, she's an amazing mother that I know. But like, she's also a teacher today, right? Now, if there are mothers out there, and fathers out there who are listening to you, and the children are hesitating, because today there are a lot more stories about school dropouts who are successful, and they throw the story at their parents. And as parents, you know better, right? Yeah. And so what would you tell them? What's the advice you would give if a parent come to you and say, "Ashish, what am I going to do, right? My kid doesn't want to pursue education."
Okay, I think I'm going to be very brutal here. Okay, I've always felt that we should throw them into the deep end and let them figure it out for themselves. Okay, they'll understand very quickly that life isn't a bed of roses. That I believe that children only want to make these choices when it's there for them. That people are enabling it. All right, the enablers in their life who say, okay, you can be whatever you want to be, but it doesn't come with conditions. All right, like in my case, I say you can be whatever you want to be, but you need to complete your education first. All right,
Mm,
and there's no two ways about it. You're not going to go back on that. Yeah,
mm,
so I think uh, kids who say they don't want to study and they want to, well, I really think that at the end of the day, if the parents are going to enable them, okay, then whatever consequences as a result, I suppose, well, it's something that needs to be seen, because we never know, they might actually be very successful. I mean, we can't say for sure, but I am thinking mostly of how much wisdom will they have, how will they be as parents. These children are also going to one day have children of their own, and are they going to also tell their kid, you don't have to go to school, or you don't have to study. I just wonder what it is that, and if I have a father who didn't have to go to school. I mean, my father didn't go to school simply because he didn't have a choice. All right. But I don't want to be having children who didn't go to school in spite of having the choice of going to school. Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Yeah. So I want that there's a very definite line there, that we don't enable our children to be losers or yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks. So for me personally, I mean, I know this is very close to my heart, because while I got educated, because I mean, people like us got educated because that's your next thing that you do if you want to be financially independent, right? Because I also come from a very similar background, right? But that's not the point. But when it comes to my kids, because I think we were we've seen so many role models where we get educated for the sake of a job, right? And because we have better choices, and sometimes we are more privileged these days, right? And there's that question: do I really need an education? So my stand with my three kids is very simple: you get a basic degree, because that's basic skills of thinking about life for all the choices and decisions that you're going to make. And I find it very important. I tell my children that you need to finish your degree. I really don't care what job you do, really. But the degree for me is important. A basic degree is important because the degree prepares you for your thinking skills, how to use your brains well, so that after that I don't have to do any thinking for you. Right? And that's the thing that I tell my children. And I know as parents struggle with this, we need to be very clear what we're telling our children about education, and our own beliefs comes through in the way we say things, right? Because I know of a lot of parents who think that education is just to get a job. But over the years, right, Rajesh, now simply like your gut is so strong, right? For me, you educate a woman, you educate a nation, because this woman is bringing the future generations into the world, and what she thinks, what she feels, what she does is exactly imprinted in every child from the time the child is conceived. So, it's science. So anyone who's hesitating to educate the children, don't think again. Just go and knock yourself one more time and get some information about it. So done with education. Bharati agrees with you that we are captains, and we should be serious. Gerald Fernandez. He's this one very nice guy whom I haven't met, who's been a great supporter of us. Gerald, thanks. He's asking you the question that probably many people have asked you, right? Finding the balance is tough, but how do you motivate them? Motivate them. What are your 3 to 5 tips?
Okay, how did I motivate them? Well, I always spoke to my children about my own struggles, okay, and how I made some tough decisions. I used to wake up in the morning at 4. Durga was studying for exams. Gayatri was also studying. We were all in exam year. I remember there was one year, and we used to get up and study together, all right, for different exams, all right. It is I think it's about back to this juggling act that I do, okay, that, I made sure that there's very little me time really. Okay, it was always we time. Okay, there was no me time. My me time was possibly those few hours I was in bed, and that's it. Okay, from the minute I woke up until the minute I went to bed, it was all about my children and my work. All right, and but I think from very early on, I think this is very important. You need to ask yourself, what's the most important thing to you? For me, it was my 2 daughters. I really felt that they were what would define me as a mother. I've brought them into this world. They didn't ask to be born, and it is my responsibility to shoulder them and to carry them through to the shore. All right. So it was for me to do that, and yeah. So yeah, and how did I balance? I think I balanced it in so many ways. I made sure that the children were very involved with me in things that we did. Okay, we ate together, we had breakfast together, we would make things together, bake together. All right, I involved them in every aspect of my life. I made sure I knew who their teachers were. I would have eyes and ears telling me lots of stories about their movements, okay? And they used to tell me, how do you know all this? And yeah, so I don't know, Gerald. I'm so sorry. I can't really think to give you exact 3 to 5 tips. But I think most importantly is to be able to say no when you should, and not about pleasing your child. Being able to hold on to your opinions and thoughts and giving them space to share what they think as well, treating them as equals. I think children need to feel valued and respected as well, and their opinion should count. Okay, and I think it's important for reward to be in place, as well as, when necessary, the punishments too. Yeah, rewards and punishments should be in place. You should strike a balance for that. And yeah, and I think having fun. I think if we can have fun with your kid, I think that's really great. It's really sad and disappointing for me to watch families, four people sitting at a table, each one looking at their own handphones, and there's no conversation that takes place during the meal. And hello, are we there? Yep. Okay. So there was a bit of a blip. Well, anyway,
Got it.
yeah. So
Mm,
so I think that we lose out on that relationship, and we lose out on that small window. The window for a child is only until the age of, I think it's getting smaller until say 10 or 11 maybe. Okay. And then they suddenly have friends and who matter more. They have opinions. Okay. They have secrets. Okay. They don't share their secrets with you. All right. So all this is happening sooner and sooner. All right. So if we don't crack that code before they reach that age, then it's really hard to hang in there. All right. Then you become a stranger. Your kid becomes a stranger to you. Yeah.
thank you. Oh, so the big thing that I hear in terms of your balance is that you need to be centered and you connect everything around the center, and your center is you and your daughters. So you center everything else around what
Around
is
them.
core. Your core is motherhood, and motherhood means Rajes, Gayatri, and Durga. This is the center. My world will have to revolve around the sun, and
Them.
you are the sun. That's the metaphor I'm getting. All right. Okay. Oh, I love you. Deepa George. I'm sure you remember Deepa George.
Yes, I
Deepa,
do.
yes, Deepa George says, such a role model for many, sure resilience, compassion, and being purposeful in all that you do. And I think all your passion is coming through the amount of energy you're able to put in to do things together with your children, because I do know that you raise them single-handedly, right? Shanti says, Shanti says, how to say no. Call Rajesh, she'll teach you how to say no, okay? Because I think there's like a no is a no, right? So sorry, Shanti, I'm going to miss that. Oh, our wonderful George has tuned in. Yes, George, I love you too. Two wonderful, strong women in one event. So I'm reading it for me because he says I'm strong. He knows you're strong. So any compliment from George, I will take it. Now, question for you, right? Rajesh, I have a couple of questions. We are at 12:53. We're supposed to end at about 1, but you know what? I'm going to just take in another 15 minutes of your time. I'm going to ask you some very quick, rapid questions because I think you've got so many great nuggets there that that you can share. But before that, Indranina says something interesting. She says, "Words has power; it changes our lives, and mothers, we are able to do that positively." Hats off to the both of you. Indra, I will take this on behalf of Rajesh. When my kids are all grown up, I hope I can take it too. Yeah. I think it's too early for me to accept this compliment at this moment. Not trying to be humble, but I know the struggle is real. And I truly believe in this, right? Because you can scold your children, you can give them consequences, but use positive words. I think the worst thing that can happen is when a mother stops believing in her child. The whole world can give up on a human, the one soul that needs and can't give up on your child is the mother. And that's something I hold very, very close to my heart, because that's what my mom gave me. And if there's anything I can do, and this, I remember George saying this to me when I met him. I met him when I had my eldest Shruti, and he said this, and this is like a golden nugget for me, right? He said, Malar, be your child's best friend, right? And all my three children know that I'm kind of crazy about them, right? And they think sometimes that I don't mean it, but that's okay, right? And that's what you've actually shown us by being this. Elizabeth says you are a true Singapin. Singapin is a license in Tampa, and I totally agree.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth.
So connect with Rajesh, ask her more questions. If you have any corporate question, if you put it down and if there are enough questions, I will bring her back. That I promise you. So I'm going to ask you some very quick tips, rapid fire type of questions, if that's okay. Now, what is that? Because you spoke about Bridget Lai, right? So what is that one advice that you have defied about motherhood? So has anyone
Um,
told you, don't do this as a mother, and then you are like, you know what? That's exactly what I'm going to do, or something like that. Do you have anything?
well, I've always said that language is very important. So I have never told my children anything negative. I try not to be negative. So it's always about you can do it. Or I'll find some way of encouraging them. But there was never a time where I would have said that they are not as good as they could be. I've never put them down really. I've given them equal equal standing in my home. Both my children. Yeah, they are
So
my equals.
I want to know: has anyone told you, whispered?
Yes, very often. Okay, I have, of course, during the years the girls were being brought up, I'd have uncles and aunties and in-laws who will tell me, oh, the children shouldn't be raised like this, and you shouldn't be so strict with them, and I said, well, they're my children, and I will raise them the way I see fit. Okay, and if any of you have any problems with children, come and tell me. I promise you, the punishment will be far worse get from me than from any of you. And nobody in my family is allowed to condition my children other than me. Okay, so I made that very clear that
Can
I'm
you
the
repeat
only
that?
person.
Yes. Can you repeat that one more time? So what I'm hearing from you is this. No, no, no. That's so good, right? Because you are the center, and you will be the center, and you decide for your children, because ultimately you are responsible, right? And what I loved about it is that if you think I am too bad for you. But if you think I'm too good, if my children make mistake, come and talk to me. Don't talk to my
Me.
children,
Yes,
because
yes,
I am the center. And I think
yes.
this is the power that's really important, because we cannot, as parents, give our power to the rest of the adults and expect our children to grow with
Because
great
I think in our
clarity.
community, all right, in our community, this happens a lot, where we have the mama and the mommy and the chittappa and the chinnamma. Everybody becomes part of the families, and everyone seems to have a forum, to pass their comments or to say something about how a child is being raised. And I felt, that that's not acceptable to me, that I am the mother, and I said it's my mistake to make. I will make it myself. I don't need anyone to tell me how to make my mistakes. So yeah.
I can say this: I love you. I love this one. Okay, gosh. One thing you think organizations can do to empower mothers at work? Because I one of those things that's really close to my heart is that, I love my work, right? But very often, men don't have to choose between being a professional and a father. But very often that choice is thrown at women who just love being mothers but love their jobs too, right? So what is that one thing organizations can do to empower mothers at work?
I think organizations should give the mother the privilege of choosing their work hours, all right, or their work time, all right, what works best for them. Because I know a mother will do everything in her power to finish whatever work she has to get back to her children, okay? But her day needs to start with her having some time to organize herself and her kids for the remaining hours of the day. So I think, yeah, flexi hours for me is very important as far as mothers go. I think mothers should have a call when it comes to this.
Nice, nice. So put back the power to the mother who's going to help you build your organization, and she will build it better for you because
Yes,
you have now
definitely.
reflected
Because I
what.
think unhappy mother or a frustrated mother or a mother who's rushing to organize herself at work is just going to not be very very productive, okay, because her heart and her mind is not in the right place. So for them to feel completely empowered in the workplace, they need to have some control over their home. And I believe that let the mother make the call, okay, how can I work best in this organization? Okay, what is some things that I can do that will work best for my home as well as for my workplace? And I think then she will make uh, a great asset. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing from you, if the organization doesn't care for you, your vocation as a mother, maybe you need to choose again. Maybe you need to think again, right? Well, I will say if you can't find one, go and start one, be an entrepreneur, right? That's the additional bit that I will add on. Okay, now, one advice that you would give to mothers who are conflicted between career and motherhood?
I think motherhood should always remain your central focus, but never give up your career, because I think it's your career that enhances your role as a mother. Okay, it just shows how much better you can be at being a successful person in the workplace as well as a good mother. I don't like this idea of, I've always told my children, no quitting your careers. No matter how much money you have, I want you all to continue working, because I want your children to see how much you do as a career woman and still being a good mother. All right. So yeah. So I do not think that they can be separated. I think that they should both come together. But
Right.
obviously, it's all about being a good mother. All right. And your career should fall into place.
Nice. So what I'm hearing is integrate your vocation lah, because
Yeah.
one makes you better at the others. It's not about it's not about choosing, but really, can we create a world where we can integrate what matters most to us, right? Because there are some talents that lies within us that will not come out in the vocation as a mother, but that's where your job really, helps
But
you to acquire this.
as I'm talking to you, there's a picture that flashed in my mind. Okay, where how this came together is, I was a bank manager, and every time the alarm goes off,
Mm.
is the manager has to go to the bank, okay, to work with the security people to reset the alarm. And I remember that sometimes the alarm will go off at 3 in the morning, for example, okay. And I am a single parent. I have two daughters, young daughters in the house. What do? I remember throwing my two children in the car and driving to the bank to reset the alarm, and coming back and going to work the next day. Okay, and my two children have come with me on a number of occasions to the bank. Okay, they'll be asleep in the car, but that's how I did it. But I just think that's a small price to pay for the career that I had. Okay, it's fantastic. I mean, I wish it would have been different, but it wasn't. Yeah, that was what I could do at that point of time. There was no way I was going to find a man at 3 o'clock in the morning to jump into the car and follow me to the bank, right?
Yeah, but I think what I'm hearing from you is not only you want to stay true to your responsibilities at work. I love the way that you
Look after the security of the girls.
yeah, because I would anytime feel safer that my kids are with me
With
than
me.
yeah. Um, that story is making me pause a little bit, but I'm going to go to the next question. There are also a couple of other questions that's coming. Maybe I should ask that question first. Dinesh Rajendra, I don't know, he calls you auntie.
Hi, Dinesh.
So you know him. So he says, you mentioned your father's take on woman's role and what you stand when you came to your children. This is a vast difference. How did this trigger you to choose this path than the easier path? To follow the past sentiments. I think what he's asking is how did you break away from the conditioning of that you grew up with?
I made that decision very early on when I was 18 years old, really, when my father said that, women should be not even seen and not heard, okay? That a woman's role was basically to be a mother and to be a homemaker, all right? Which was what my mother was, which is very sad because my mother actually is an awesome woman. She could have done a lot more, all right? And so I think from very early on, I decided that I am going to do this my way. I think that resonates with me, Dinesh, that I was going to do it my way, and I wasn't going to allow anyone with traditional ideas to come and tell me that what I was doing was wrong. I wanted to raise my girls the way I what felt I should raise them. Okay, and I did read a lot. I am an avid reader. My two children are avid readers. We we used to read from very young. And I learned a lot from other people's stories, okay, on how to raise my daughters. And I think that that's one way to go, all right, to learn from others, all right. Don't get trapped into this traditional roles and traditional models, because after a while it's you feel it becomes so natural to you that that's how parenting should be, when it shouldn't be that way, all right. Parenting should evolve and it should move with the times, and we should understand that yes, we hold on to some traditional values. I'm still a devout Hindu. I still pray on a daily basis, but I don't uh, but that doesn't encroach into my partying. I have uh, nice parties with my husband. We travel. Okay, I'm very, very outgoing and modern as well. Okay, so you need to bring these two worlds together and take what is good for you. Okay, there are some great values I have learned from my father, but definitely most of it was not applicable to today's women. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks. So what you're telling me is that take on the values but stay relevant, because these traditional values were made at a time where you didn't exist. Things have
Yes.
changed. Can you just move on and don't be stuck with your past? So check for relevance is what I'm hearing. I want to read out what Magad has said, because Rajesh, you remind me about my mom who's illiterate and she's a rock star. One day I hope she can talk about it as clearly as you do. But let's just read out what Magad is saying. Magad is saying, watching my mother raise my brother and I all by herself while working like crazy made me believe that all mothers in the world have something that is beyond, that is strong and powerful. Well, in Tamil, we call it Shakti. Listening to Raji's story, I guess it is through, right? Thank you, Magad, for that affirmation. Rajesh is reading it right now. Okay, just a couple more questions before I let you go. Right, Rajesh? I know I said 1 o'clock, guys. I told you it's 1 o'clock, but these questions are too good, and I'm not willing to let it go. Now, one advice. Sorry, one. What is the most difficult choice you've made as a mother?
The most difficult choice I've made as a mother.
As a mother.
Um, I think the most difficult choice I would have made as a mother was when I had to say no to my children from time to time. I think that was really hard. Sometimes they would come to me with certain requests, and I wish I could say yes to them. Like I remember Durga. She's a brilliant girl. My second daughter, both are brilliant, but Durga wanted to study medicine in the UK, all right, and I knew that I just could not afford 5 years or 6 years in UK, so I had to appeal to her common sense to actually do a twinning program. And so she went to the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland. It's a collaboration with Penang Medical Center. So she did a twinning program. So we kind of met halfway, all right. So I think that there were a lot of tough choices along the way, and some of it was uh, related to finance, really, okay, where I have to say no to my children. There are many times I had to say no. Yeah. But I think we've survived and we've done pretty well, actually.
Of course. So those who want to know how well they're doing, check out Durga and Gayatri, who
Guys.
are kept here. They're awesome young ladies. Maybe one day we'll bring them here together. Now, what can you recall and share with us one fear you held as a mother?
One,
Fear.
the fear of failure. I felt that there were many people who were hoping I'd fail because I was going against the grain. I was doing everything which usually people do not do. Okay, I was being a very untraditional Indian woman, and so my greatest fear was the fear of failure. That all those hard decisions I made were the wrong decisions. So yeah,
And so,
that was
what does failure mean here? When you say failure, what are you referring to as failure, Rajesh?
like when how I raised my daughters, the
So,
freedom
it
I give
didn't
them.
turn out. You
Yeah.
in the way it would turn out. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so that was my greatest fear of failure.
Yeah, it's just amazing how mothers take at our, how we mothers take our children's failures personally, right? That's the greatest mystery, but never mind. The deepest pain in motherhood that gave you wisdom.
I think it was really hard to be a single parent. I think that was very, very painful to be a single parent, and I remained I remained married in spite of being single. Okay, until my daughters were both adults, because I didn't want to put my children through a custody battle of any kind. I wanted my children to have perfectly normal childhood, and yeah, so that was a very, very painful decision. So I remained in that marriage until early 2001 or 2002, and I am very, very happily remarried now. I got remarried in 2007, and he's a star. He's a rock star. Okay, my 4 grandchildren just adore him. I'm sure you know that, mother. Okay, so God actually rewarded me in this life. Gave me a second chance. Yeah.
My deepest respect to Uni, because yeah, we know what it takes. Thank you, Rajes.
Thank you.
Okay. Goodness, I'm losing my thought. The wisdom. So I can't help but I want to ask this question. What would you advise to women who are hanging in there to a bad marriage for the sake of their children? When does it become worth it? When does it not become worth it?
Um, I won't say I hung in there. I made it very clear that it was over. All right, but because I I didn't want, like I said, I didn't want my children to be put through any tussle. I didn't want any kind of tussle. I wanted my children to have perfectly normal lives. Okay, I wanted them to still be in touch with their father, and I didn't want them to have to deal with two angry parents fighting and screaming all day. All right, so I made that decision very early on that I would be independent, that I would move. And of course, the fact that I had already progressed in my career helped me a lot, because at the end of the day, you have to be somewhat financially uh, able, okay, to support yourself and to support your 2 children. And having said that, I think my ex was uh, very, very, as much as it was a very acrimonious separation, I think he was a very responsible father. He helped me to educate both my daughters all through. So I'm very grateful to him for that. Okay. So I will never complain about financial uh, responsibilities. That wasn't one of my greatest problems. It was more of loneliness, being a single parent, making hard decisions all by myself. Even standing up to my children's father and saying no to him and some of his suggestions that he made on the kids' education. Okay, so it was always about decisions I made. Okay, and I made sure that I made the decision. No one else was going to make it. So it was very, very hard.
Thanks. I feel it. But I just want to highlight one of those things that you just said just now. You said he helped you raise,
Yes,
right? He
yes.
so and I'm telling you just what I'm taking from there. So I love the way you use your language, which just came out. He helped, because I can see how clearly you took full responsibility of the children, and even though he was just doing his duty as the father, I love the way you say he helped. So I just want to tell you
No, I
that.
think that it's very important that all fathers and mothers, okay, I hope those fathers who are listening, at the end of the day, we must agree on one thing, that children don't ask to be born, okay, that it takes two parties to bring these children into the world. And so no matter how that relationship turns out, it's very important that both parties have common interest when it comes to the child. Okay, and I was very fortunate that my ex allowed me to make the major decisions when it comes to the children. Okay, and I stood firm. There were many times we disagreed on my decisions, but I was very, very firm that this is how it's going to be. And like I said, I have no regrets. I will not go back to any point in my life and ask to change how things were. I think they all happened for a reason. And yes, I'm grateful to him as well, okay, for having supported me, okay, in ensuring that both my children, okay, are who they are today, okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Maziana, our darling sister, says she gave up custody so that the children will not go through an ugly tussle. And that's definitely, Maziana, a story for another day for sure, because I know there's a big story there. Okay, we've taken a lot of your time. A few more quick questions. Question just for my sake. The series is called Being Whole, Being Me. I decided to do this LinkedIn Live from last week after a couple of friends kicked me. And the objective is to bring real stories that we all can learn and be inspired. And I realized that, I'm very blessed because I'm surrounded by people who inspire me every day. And those are the people I'm bringing onto stage. So, people who are watching, thank you very much because you're supporting. And I really hope this is benefiting people that it's supposed to benefit, right? So, Rajesh, I need you to finish this sentence for me. Yeah? This is one shot sendiri punya lah for me. All right. When you feel whole, right? So just make this sentence. When I feel whole, how would you finish the sentence?
I am in a good place
Nice.
when I feel
One,
whole.
one quality of motherhood that you hold close to your heart.
Honesty.
Nice. One thing people misunderstand about you.
My straightforwardness.
One quality in motherhood that you won't trade with anything else in the world.
Commitment.
And one word, one advice that you would give to all mothers on Mother's Day.
You can do it. Just be yourself. Always remember to put the children right in the middle. They are central to every decision that you should make. So that's all that I can tell any mother. As long as you have your children at the heart of what you do, everything else falls into place.
If you were to say something to your two beautiful daughters, Gayatri and Durga, if you were to give them one message each, what's the one thing you would tell them as a mother?
A message, or it's just a
What would you?
message?
Yeah, a message to Durga and Gayatri. They're both great mothers. They are awesome, rocking mothers. I watch them. So, just imagine you're saying something to them, right, as their mother. What would you say to them now?
Okay, I will always love you, and I know that you will always continue to be the best that you can be. They will never be less than the best. They will always be the best they can be.
All
Yeah,
right.
awesome.
And if you could say something to your mother, who's another rocking great grandmother, what would you say?
My mother, my mother, I need to tell her to stay safe, to stay indoors. She's still running around, very, very busy, driving at the age of 82. Okay, so that's very scary. Yeah, so
Thanks.
that's my mother. Stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Rajesh. And if there's one thing that you can tell me.
Okay. I actually wanted to share this right at the beginning because this is something Sally Ann told me. And
Huh.
she said something about a daffodil cannot be a rose, but it can be the best daffodil it can be. So we all need to be the best we can be. Okay. We cannot be like someone else. Just be yourself.
Which is what being whole, being me is all about. So,
Yeah.
any advice for me, Rajesh, because you know me very well. So, throw me something that I can.
You're doing great, Mother. I have no advice for you. I need to get advice from you.
All right. With that, thank you very much for this amazing
Thank
1 hour,
you.
20-minute conversation. And Rajesh, deep respect to you, deep love to you, special respect for Uni. Love you loads. Thank you for saying yes. I know you would have inspired a lot of people. You have inspired me as a mother. just like my mom. Yeah, my mom is very inspiring, and we continue to tussle. And Mother's Day is special to me, and I want to wish you an amazing Mother's Day. But remember, this year your story had a voice, and that's going to help a lot of young mothers walk bravely, walk with clarity, and know that there is hope for us. So, thank you very much. God bless you. I see you when I see you again, and I give you a real big hug. Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all for listening, and God bless you, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Thank you very much, Malar.
All right, love you. Bye bye.
Bye.
So, for the rest of the people, thank you very much for staying tuned with us. And, please put in any question that you may have for Rajesh, specifically about career. Then I could actually use that as a reason to call her back. And I'm just going to read some stuff that's coming through. Elizabeth, yeah, Elizabeth is my best buddy in motherhood, my greatest teacher as well. She says, Happy Mother's Day. Bharati is saying something. The fundamental is trust. Thank you very much. George, I love you too. Thank you for being inspirational. George, you are quite the center in our lives. So we'll talk about you soon. So I hope. And yeah, so the rest of us are saying goodbye. So thank you very much. Next week, we are hoping to bring a mother who's also an amazing educator who has changed lives, who has helped other parents who are struggling with their children in a very special way. So, keeping my fingers crossed that will happen. It's next Friday happening. Put in your ideas in the comments, put in your thoughts. Tell me what type of stories that you want to hear, because the objective is being me is being whole, and to being whole, we need to live our life meaningfully and just be ourselves. With that, I'm signing off. This is Malal from Hearts and Minds. I want to thank you for your time. Have a great Mother's Day, everybody, including the fathers who are great mothers too.